Hey everybody, Radaman here. Thanks for tuning in to Kerbal Space Program. So, I have a little bit of unfortunate news for all you Kerbal fans. This will probably be my last episode. I do have two Kerbals that are not home on Kerbin. Let's just say they have extended missions, including the Solar Observatory and RHD-18. This last mission is going to barely mimic, but mimic the discovery missions where I'm going to send a satellite into deep space, which is honestly pretty simple. But that's probably the most significant thing I could think of doing. So yeah, what I'm going to do is going to take my best probe core here, and we are going to aim for the cosmos. So let me open this up and start slapping things. It doesn't really need to generate any science, because it's not really going to do a whole lot. It's just going to get sent out there. Which means, well, it also means I might want to bring a pilot along, Sigmund. But no. I think I'm just going to send it, if you know what I mean. Alright, so the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to use propulsion that I hadn't used before, which is designed for long trips. This is going to... So there's two different types of long trip propulsion. There is the atomic nerve rocket motors. As you can see here, if I could lock this in... No, I can't. It has a vacuum ISP of 800, which is incredibly good. It only takes liquid fuel, it doesn't take oxidizer. Or alternatively, there's some other propulsion that I could do as well. So let me I'm gonna call this RHD last. So the other type of propulsion would be the little ion propulsion. So I just wanted to make sure I had it unlocked. I actually forget where it is exactly. Yep, ion propulsion, there it is, the Dawn. Yeah, so this is going to be Dawn propulsed, probably, which is very energy efficient, but that makes probably the most sense. So, sort by size. No, it's not even in here. It is... What is it, utility? It used to be an engine. I don't even know where that's being stored. So these teeny little engines here, as you can see, their vacuum ISP is 4.2K, and they take electrocharge and xenon gas. So, yeah, it's significantly different than all the other stuff I've put up into orbit, obviously. So what I'm going to do is build out a craft that has some of this goodness. You know, I'm going to actually streamline this a lot better. Let's go ahead and do that. Alright, so 4 little Dawn thrusters. And then we need the fuel tanks for xenon gas. So here's a little xenon gas container and some side containers too. We'll leave that off. Put the big one on. This is starting to look cool. So thrust to weight ratio is terrible, but it can burn for a very long time. And of course, we're not launching this from Kerbin, so this delta V stats will be like the sun. So the delta V that we have here is about 16K. Yeah, it's quite a lot. Then the other thing is we want something that can do direct communication and powerfully. So I think this top slot here is going to be for a direct communique. Oh, you want to attach to the side, huh? That's okay. How much does this weigh? 0.0. Okay, this does not weigh enough to significantly throw off our craft, I don't think. Alright, so let's get that Xenon tank at the top again. What else could we add to this to make it feel sciencey? I'll add no, I'm not even gonna add thermostat. I don't really need it. Yeah, we don't have any relays, so we'll need power generation, obviously. And then I need to put this thing into space. Alright, so there's our power generation. It looks like this. Pretty cool little satellite, I'd say. Maybe I'll angle that. Oops. Down a little bit. Alright, there we go. Yep, very cool. It almost looks like solar sails. Alright. It's not a whole lot of power, but I shouldn't be in shadow for very long. Now, the weight of this is about the same as the, as this thing. So actually what I'll do is copy this over and give it symmetry. So these things are like little radioisotope generators. They generate power, very low levels amount of power, but constantly. It's always active. Then let's see. I don't know how much I need to worry about radiators. Actually, what was that part? Oh, this is a little generator for inside. So now that we have those, what I'm going to do here is add some flare to this satellite. So this is going to be red. Blue. I think you know what the last one's going to be. Or green, blue. Okay, there we go. And those lights should shine on the solar power panels. That should be pretty cool. What else are we gonna slap on this little guy here? Well, obviously we're gonna have this be retracted. Come on, cut me a break. Okay. So it has some radioisotope generators. RCS, or control, advanced inline stability. Yeah, let's do that. There we go. That is our little satellite core thing. So now we need to put this into payload. Alright. It was a little upside down, so there's a little payload. Cool. So we have our satellite now. And then we're going to want to be able to separate. So let's go with a stack separator here. There we go. So we have our little satellite into payload. Cool. I'm going to keep this real simple. I don't really think it needs to be super complicated. So keeping it simple is what I'll do. So that pairs to this, pairs to this. Tapers down, and engine. Cool, that's pretty simple. Changing the staging. Now, what? This thing wouldn't be a Rodamont craft if it didn't have kickback SRBs. Come on, we all know that, right? I hope you all know that by now. So let's add an obscene amount of kickbacks just because I can, because I'm insane at times. So there we go. There's some. Fix the, fix the staging. And what am I going to launch this rocket to? I have no idea. I know that some of you are probably like, what's the point of this mission? I don't know, man. I don't know. I couldn't think of a nice end cap. Some people were saying, fly into the sun, fly into the moon. Instead, I'm going to have an unmanned mission off to nowhere to sort of, you know, it's about exploration. It's about the next horizon. And maybe this series can make a revival at some point. And if I killed everyone, it would not be very good at making that revival. It's a really weird launch stage, but that's okay. Last but not least, maybe some control fins, because I never add them ever. So we'll just add some winglets. And maybe a big reaction wheel. Not that this craft's pretty big. It's not going to be easily controllable. Those winglets might burn up from the kickbacks, but if they do, they do. I'm so blasé about it, aren't I? Okay, there we go. I think we're good to go. Now, because I'm not actually pointing anywhere, I guess I will wait to launch. So where are we? We are pointing towards the outer. Yep. All right. I'm just gonna launch like this. Nice. Already, as you can see, this is my least functional craft. Cool. Let's go and revert. So the problem here is my control unit is upside down. This thing, right? So control point reversed might fix it, because I built it and then I flipped it upside down. So it immediately tried to flip upside down, which honestly I felt pretty funny. It's like the final mission and we were aiming to smash back into Kerbal. Alright, so this is right side up, hopefully. Pretty simple craft. My total Delta V is going to be ridiculous once I get into space, though. It's interesting how small that payload looks, and yet there's so much packed into that, right? I've got a bunch of fuel and gas and electric charge and solar power panels. It's all packed into that teeny little package there. Because this is a relatively simple mission, I'm building up speed like gangbusters now. Here, as you can see, it's not directly out from the sun, but it's close-ish. And we're just going to keep launching forward and forward. And that's the mission. That's the whole mission, man. I know, it's crazy. I basically just stage only. And there's mods that can do some of the auto-staging for you. Like mech jet Well, I'm in space, so I can deploy the, my little clamshell. Let's put out this, antenna. I like how it's clipping into the, rocket. Turn on the lights. So I'm not likely to re-enter any atmospheres. I'll even extend my solar power panels. Ooh. I know it's really dark, because I launched at nighttime, but it's becoming a little bit of a light show. There you go. Now you have something to look at. Little rainbow rocket. I'll be out of Kerbin's shadow soon. We had to launch at nighttime to launch into deep space, though. There wasn't really an alternative. Well, there is an alternative I'd have to angle, but I wasn't doing that, so. Alright, what's our APO? Yeah. As you can see, I'm not really aiming anywhere. I'm just sort of blasting off to nowhere. Now, this is one way to get to the outer planets, to go with a really light craft, without a lot of sciencey stuff, without a lot of, without a Kerbal pilot, and you shed a lot of weight, and you can, obviously my eventual orbit is going to be well beyond ELO here, I think. I have enough Delta V to take me just about anywhere I want. I'm even gonna physics warp. Whoa! Game was so mad about physics warping. Alright, so I've burned out all of my solid fuel. So now, I'm going to control my little satellite. Control default. Launch those little ionic dawn engines. And right now, because I'm in the shadow of Kerbin, there we go. Now I'm getting power. There we go. My happy little satellite. I think it looks great. Honestly, I couldn't be any happier. So, I have about 8K Delta V. I think what I'm going to do is wait until I leave Kerbal Sphere of Influence. Yeah, there we go. And just keep blasting prograde. And this is what it looks like. Little satellite core. I could have made it a little bit more efficient. I have a lot of weight on it. Like, I have so much, I'm curious how functional my little thermoelectric, or, you know, the, what are they called? The radioisotope thermoelectric generators are. So let's see. On no solar power, I would drain my batteries eventually. Even on one panel, I probably wouldn't. You know, if you're really trying to min-max a mission like this, you'd honestly only bring as much power generation as you'd need. Because one panel almost fully... One panel plus the thermoelectrics almost fully charge it. So I can extend 2 and easily I'll have power positive. And surprisingly enough, I still have plenty of satellite connection with Kerbin for now. Obviously that will change and I'll be out of power, out of network. I'm gonna physics advanced warp up to ×4, which is the best I can get. Where am I going? I don't know. I'm just going. Just going. My happy little craft. It's so quiet. Can't even hear these things. So if you were going to make a satellite, you could obviously build it somewhat like this, because I could put myself into orbit just about in any orbit in the whole solar system with a craft with this much Delta V, right? The downside, of course, to the Electric Dawn propulsion systems, slowing down sucks. It takes a very, 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 very long time to speed up. As you can see, I'm not accelerating significantly. And if you think you can just slap a bunch of these little engines on, sure, you could, but the more you slap on, the heavier craft is, the more fuel you'll need, and you're just basically fighting the whole delta V curve. So you're never really going to have a little satellite here that has significant thrust. It doesn't happen. What you could do is I could have asparagus staged off the containers, however, providing the containers themselves were significantly heavier than the staging equipment. You could shed weight that way. So I could have honestly made this craft weigh a whole lot less if I wanted to. I just didn't. CurbNet access. So I have it physics warped, and right now we are going to leave. We're on a course to basically go further than all of the known objects in the solar system. If you're wondering what's out there, nothing. But missions to far, deep solar system take a very, very, very long time. So, for instance, for me to get back to this point is 4 years. Yeah. That's a pretty long flight. New Horizons, which was the fastest spacecraft to ever leave Earth, ever, took 9.5 years to reach Pluto, as a point of reference. So if you think an intercontinental flight is a pain in the butt, imagine a 9.5-year flight, and that's just to Pluto. So if you're wondering why we haven't gone to Alpha Centauri or other nearby stars in our galaxy, it's part of it is actually, so this is the weird conundrum, right? As propulsion technology gets better, let's say we leave today with our current chemical rockets, right? And it will take 80,000 years or something like that. That's a number I think is correct. Let me Google. How long to Alpha Centauri, not at light speed. Oh. A journey would take about... No, that's 100 years moving at 4.3% the speed of light. We wouldn't get that fast. With current technology... Okay, fine. Apparently Project Longshot puts it at put it at 100 years. But, alright, let's say it's even 100 years, right? So let's say you wanted to build a generation ship and get to Alpha Centauri and it'll take you 100 years. Maybe 50 years from now, we have a trip that only takes 25 years. And then they will get there first. So that's kind of the funny joke, is why go now when we can go later faster? You know? Alright, so what is... At this point, yeah, I'm easily further than any other object at my Apo. I am the deep, deep space here, and I'm not even through a significant amount of my fuel. I've got 2/3 of my tank left. But, yeah, this was to infinity and beyond. This happy little satellite. I'm gonna drain the side tanks first. Leave the fuel up the top tank. Why? No reason. Just tankering, you know. Alright, so if we zoom out now, we are pretty officially just like leaving the solar system, as you can see. But because we want to get there faster, I'm just gonna keep firing off. Because why not? So, while we fire off this beautiful little rocket, I'll give you a nice view here. Something cinematic. What is hide UI? Nope. Let's see. The hide UI is Control Alt D, Shift D, Control Alt F1. All right. No, that just cut my engines. Whoa! Game, come on, man. UI debugging. Who knew that this would be this tricky? For a game that can be beautiful, it should be a lot easier to hide the UI. Maybe there is an easy way and I'm just dense. Well. Oh, whoops. I googled KSP hide the UI and it gave me the wrong game. Alright, it's just F2. I don't know why my KSP hide the UI came up with like Second Life search results, but alright, so here you go. A very nice, I don't know what's the most cinematic. Maybe this angle here. So, yeah, what's going on with this channel? So a new space game is going to replace Kerbal Space Program, to give you a little bit of a hint to the very, very few of you that still tune into this series. It's the only hint I'm going to give, so don't ask for more. Yeah, I don't really know what's going on in space for news. But whatever's out there, I'm headed to it. With my happy little craft. So, in recent space news, researchers have charted our galaxy on a larger scale than ever before. The Milky Way disk is very uneven and not flat at all like a frisbee, but very curved and warped. There's a lot of outlying stars that just aren't within what you would think is the gravity well, maybe because of collisions with high gravity well things, sending them out to weird orbits. 31 light years away, astronomers discovered a potentially habitable world thanks to NASA's Planet Hunting Telescope. So if you're curious what that means, it means the world is in the Goldilocks zone. The Goldilocks zone is the zone, the distance from the sun, or from the star, I should say, not the sun, but also from the sun, where water can potentially exist in liquid state. So on Earth, we really don't see a whole lot of life that can live. Oh, am I out of fuel? No, I'm just out of something. I don't know what's going on. My engines aren't. Oh, xenon gas is deprived. Yeah, it is. Okay. Now it's not. Oh, so back what I was going to say. Yeah, the Goldilocks zone is because we only know life to exist within liquid water, and we only really know water-based life forms. The idea is that for us to find life on other planets, we'd have to find planets in the Goldilocks zone, which means a planet that ideally would have roughly the same gravity as Earth, meaning it's habitable. Mars, for instance, is not so habitable because long-term humans would turn into like a bag of bones. We're not suited very well for low gravity, whereas Venus is a lot better suited for humans except for the atmosphere. So the sky cities of science fiction might actually be our best shot at living somewhere other than Earth in our solar system, but I digress. The habitable zone, the Goldilocks zone, is where liquid water can exist. So finding another planet that's potentially habitable means this planet, if it has water, which most objects in our own solar system have water, due to comets in their early stages of forming, means that, yeah, there could be liquid water on this planet, and if the planet has a few other special things to it, the right amount of water, the right amount of gas, and magnetosphere to prevent the atmosphere from stripping away. So if you're wondering why, like, Mars is the way it is, Mars probably doesn't have an active dynamo, which means its molten core is not moving. It's more solid than ours. Mars has some pretty ridiculously large volcanoes, but the inner core is probably because it's hard to confirm these things, probably more dormant than the core of, well, certainly more dormant than the core of Earth, or more inactive. So the Earth's core, because it's liquid metals moving and circulating, it creates a magnetosphere, a sort of a shield. Think like Magneto, that protects Earth's atmosphere from being stripped away by the sun, because the sun's radiation, which is basically, like light, whatever, hits Earth, it could, without a magnetosphere, the atmosphere of Earth would be sort of burned away or pushed away. So that's kind of what happened to Mars, more or less. So Martian atmosphere, I haven't looked it up. If I was to guess, I'd guess it has atmosphere due to outgassing or something like that. I'm not exactly sure. I don't know. Going off the top of my head for all of this, but yeah, that's. So when we find something in the Goldilocks zone, it means it's depending on the star, of course. If it's a star exactly like the sun, the Goldilocks zone is going to be, the 93 million miles away from the sun, like we are. Now, if you have a red dwarf or a red giant, or like, there's a lot of different types of stars, so the Goldilocks zone distance changes depending on the star. So, like, if you have a red giant, the Goldilocks zone is going to be like a Jupiter's distance away or further. And then there's also some other helpful things, like the moon being tidally locked with us provides a lot of benefit for a planet. Plus, it's also theorized that the moon, due to its gravity well, helps to protect Earth from asteroid impacts, because in the after the moon was theorized to be formed by something huge, like the size of Mars, hitting Earth and knocking a chunk of Earth out into space, and then that chunk being captured by Earth's gravity. So the moon is actually like used to be part of Earth. Earth used to be more massive and got hit with a planet, basically, and it formed the moon. And the reason we know that is sort of the geology of Earth and the moon are way too similar to one another compared to really the geology of all the other planets out there, that the moon is really Earth stuff, but yeah, that the moon, after it was formed, helped to shield us a bit from potential, extinction level meteor strikes. Yeah, what else could I talk about while we use up the last of my fuel? I might not talk the entire time. I might just be happy sailing out to the middle of nowhere. You're probably more interested in seeing me out there. So instead, what I'm going to do, let's speed up the time. And actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these engines and just start time warping. So I'm sort of curious, at what point will I lose satellite access, right? Because I have a really powerful direct connect antenna. Actually, it looks like to me this direct connect antenna is very powerful, and I still have a pretty good connection at 80%. Okay, now we're down to 70%. Yeah, if I hooked up all my other crafts with this specific antenna here, I would have been just fine. This antenna is honestly just like overpowered, and it's not even the best one. But there we go. So a direct connect gets us out about this far. So we're at I'm going to go out to 1% signal strength, if I can time that right. All right, 2% is close enough. And start firing up the engines again, because once I lose connection, I won't be able to tell the satellite to do anything else. It's a satellite, it won't have a human pilot or anything like that. Alright, let's point prograde. And now the sun looks so very far away. I'm pretty curious to see the 2% to 0%. Maybe I'll try to get to 1%. Okay, there we go. So this is what a 1% connection looks like. It's pretty good. If I had a relay out in Dres orbit or so, or a few like 3 relays, all timed differently, there would be almost no way to lose connection. So if you're playing for yourself and you want to use a lot of probes, a relay satellite network, very, very good. Now, there's really nothing report-worthy that this little thing can generate, but we're also way out here. We're barely able to get sunlight, so I'm going to lower the amount of thrust that these Dawn engines can produce. That's one of the reasons I added all these radioisotope thermoelectric generators, is the further you get from the sun, the less power you generate. And now that I'm really far from the sun, we're not generating a whole lot of power from these arrays. As you can see, their flow rate is just barely above a thermoelectric generator. These generate 1, and these are generating like 1.6. Despite it looking very sunny. Nah, I don't know. It doesn't really look all that sunny. Just looks like a giant colorful plus in space. Whee! That was kind of fun, right? I still have 1% strength, so I can still do this. I'm very glad that they don't simulate, lag time. Because commands, well, that would be really brutal. But commands in real life would be delayed by the light speed distance or radio wave distance, which would be not insignificant at this distance. Now that I've made you sufficiently dizzy, we are traveling very, very fast. Velocity of 11,000 meters per second. If you consider, oh, did I? Okay, there's Moho. Moho disappeared for me for a second. Alright, let's keep pointing. Oh, prograde to orbit. It's funny to watch it, physics time warp, kind of flop around a bit. So I'm not even that far yet, all things considered. Like, the altitude of ELO is 95 million, and we're at 54. So we're not even at ELO's distance, and that's not even ELO's max distance. I'm just aiming to burn as much, oh, I keep doing that, as much fuel as I can before we lose connection. Now, if I was patient and burning the whole time, we would have used up all this fuel. But I time warped. Alright, I don't have any idea how we still have a 1% connection We launched 23 days ago, or 203 days ago. I think it's time to bring this series to an end. So still, yep, now it's not connected, which means I can't steer, but I can thrust. Oh, interesting. I didn't even know that. That seems a bit like an oversight. But I'm just going to time warp it. Here we go. The dimming of the sun. So we've sent 2 satellites into space that have gone out like this kind of distance here. So Discovery, the farthest object in space is, not Discovery, but Voyager. Voyager 1. And it will actually hit a star in 40,000 years. So, it's not lonely, it has a date. So at this point, let's take a look. I am at 121 million. That might not be beyond ELO's maximum. Let me look it up. ELO maximum is 113. Yeah, we've passed ELO now. That is further than ELO ever gets from the sun. And we still have fuel to spare. Quite a lot of it, in fact. So I can't maneuver or anything here. The craft is essentially dead. I mean, it's time warping, but even if it wasn't. Let's take a look. Look at that little sun. So, the probe core won't die, because even though these solar generators are not exactly getting any power, I do have the thermoelectric, or radioisotope thermoelectrics, which is essentially, you know, nuclear power. Alright, I'm sort of curious what happens at the end of this, this right here. 52 days. Not even 34. Look at that dim sun there. Alright, here we are. We, as far as Kerbal's concerned, I've kind of left the solar system. And that will be the end cap to this this mission. Kerbal is somewhere around there. Somewhere back there. We're out here. Enjoying this happy little probe being sent to deep space. Our happy little deep space probe. I could definitely imagine being an astronaut and being on a little ship, you know, little spaceship. Let's say we're near the moon. And you could look back towards Earth and think, every single human that exists in the entire universe, except for, of course, those on the ship and yourself, exist in a little dot out there, right? I mean, it's crazy. Every time I see a picture of the Earth being sent back from Cassini or Curiosity, and the Earth is just a little blue dot, you, me, just about everyone we know, we all exist on that little dot. So here we are at the end of Kerbal Space Program, looking back at Kerbin as a little dot. I don't see it. I don't think it's going to render at this distance, but there we go. The very happy ending to a space program. With my little rainbow rover, my little traveler here headed out to nowhere. Well, guys, sorry that was it, but all good things come to an end. The new series that I sort of hinted at will be announced, I don't know, week or two, something like that. Again, if you have any feedback for me or questions, feel free to drop me a line in comments. I'll get to them, even though there's not going to be another episode. And I'll have to catch you all later. So thank you all very much for watching. Adios.